Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Recovery. My name is Alain Kapatashungu, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of REALTORS. In this episode, I'm excited to chat with one of the most astounding leaders in the real estate industry, somebody that I've been following from afar. So I'm really excited. Tami Bonnell. Tami is the Chief Executive Officer at EXIT Realty Corp International. First of all, Tami, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really well. How about you?
I'm doing great. So for those of you guys who don't know Tami, Tami is what we call a veteran, if I can say that, in the real estate industry. She loves to invest in people, which is fitting perhaps because real estate, as I always say, is a people first industry. Tami joined EXIT Realty Corp International in '99, and she was appointed CEO in 2012. She's been recognized and ranked by almost every major real estate news site that you know out there. The latest was in 2019, where she was recognized as one of the 200 most powerful and influential people in residential real estate and among the top 10 women leaders. And that's so uplifting, personally, for me. Tami, to kind of get us started, even though there's no such thing in real estate as quote unquote typical day, can you talk to us and maybe try to describe what has been for you your typical work day during this crisis, pretty much? What have you been doing?
Well, I think that one of the things is that really helps during something like this, during a pandemic, is staying in control. So as much as you keep your regular habits, the better off you are. Typically for me, because I'm the CEO and I'm responsible for growth and productivity for the company. And part of my job is selling regions, right? The rights to individual provinces or states, and helping the company to grow. So bringing in new agents, bringing in new franchises and new offices, and assisting in that, and helping, basically helping anything to do with growth. So typical work week for me, Mondays and Fridays I coach that I sold regions to help get the most and best out of them, so that we're in real time, that they can constantly strive to improve. I do homework on Mondays and Fridays. Typically Tuesday and Thursday are build days for me. So that can be anything from podcasts, interviews, whether that's TV, radio, podcasts, writing articles, so that we're in the forefront, in front of people, and everything to do with building. So that's usually when I make presentations for regions, and when I make presentations for franchises, or I do validation for the people that we have within the organization. So some of it can stay steady. I book off, and I think that that's probably one of the best things as far as help for everybody. I think that there's a good idea is to book off time for what if. So I book off an hour every single day. I alternate it. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday might be in the afternoon, and Tuesday and Thursday in the morning, and then I'll shift it the following week. I book off an hour every day for what if. And so today, that might be an opportunity for validation for sales, or to lift somebody up. And another day, it might be putting out a fire, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And it doesn't go past, too much time doesn't go past. And I'm not stressed over waiting until the next day. So for sure, that's my best advice for people that are out there, because stuff always happens in the real estate industry, right?
Absolutely. Agreed.
But it's much better for me to be in control of it than for it to control me.
I really like the idea of build days. This is something that I never heard about. I really like that idea. Something that I would love to implement actually for myself. Thanks for sharing that.
I'm detail oriented, so and I'm an off the chart DI, so really it wouldn't necessarily be in my what helps keep me on track. And it's a crazy silly thing, but every activity that I do that has to do with build, because it's always about the company further and taking people further. Every single thing that I do that has to do with building, when I put it in my appointment book, I write it in green.
Awesome. Wow.
So everything else, all the detail work is written in black. It's stuff that must be done, but everything that's building is done in green. And so I can look back at a week and how I feel if most of it's in green, I'm feeling pretty good.
That's awesome. That's actually awesome. I really like that. This is definitely something that I will implement for myself. Thanks for sharing. So tell me, how did you stay on top of not only your staff but also your agents' needs during this pandemic? Like, how have you been able to manage that, the need of just being there, being present? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, obviously we have Zoom, we have Facebook
Yes.
Live. I do videos very often, almost every day on
Okay.
Facebook or LinkedIn. Actually, a combination of Facebook and LinkedIn, but
Okay.
also directly to our regional owners and our broker owners in a Facebook group.
Got it.
I think probably the best thing, and I've done this my whole career, I've actually broken a few records sales-wise, and I can tell you the
Wow.
number one reason has been personalizing everything. So
Yes.
before I deal with anybody, I Google them, I friend them on Facebook, I connect with them on LinkedIn. I have what I call a dirty dozen, a dozen people on the business, not in it, right?
Yes.
That are tied to it, so that
Okay.
I'm always aware of what's going on with
Absolutely.
personally,
Yes.
and potential people personally, as well as business wise.
Awesome.
And so it gives me an opportunity to talk to them personally. You know, we've had people
Okay.
that have gone through real difficulties during this time, right?
Agreed.
Some
Agreed.
are really mentally stressed, some that have lost family members,
Absolutely.
you know, major things that have gone on in their lives, but we've also had some really great things too. So
Agreed.
when you're aware of it and you can connect with somebody right away, that really matters. And as funny as it sounds, personal phone calls, people become just one-on-one feel
Yes.
dramatically different than they do on Zoom or any other type of media. You know, before
Great.
it was great, I can see your face, and it's
Yes.
important to see somebody's face, but that one-on-one phone call, when they realize that it's only them and that you're giving them your uninterrupted time, I think that's more important than anything.
That is awesome. That's actually pretty powerful. What is to you the one thing that you believe was overlooked, in an industry, and we were like, no, and then just pretty much COVID validated as an undeniable demand? What is the one thing that you believe it's now here to stay? Like, this is it. It's here to stay.
Well, we have the ability right now, right, for virtual closings and virtual open houses, and that doesn't mean face to face and one-on-one is more important than anything. And skill set will always beat out a disruptor. Skills beat out a disruptor before anything else. But it that doesn't leverage technology won't make it, because people still want speed and transparency. So some of those things that were unbelievable push, I don't even know how long, right? For at least a decade, all those things were pushback. We figured it out in 48 hours.
Agreed.
A lot of times there's a push on your back, and it's because of no choice that you end up having to do it. But I believe that will stay. But the other part that will stay is agents leveraging skill set and technology will excel. Agents that are not leveraging both will not, because it's that transparency can show you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Talking about. I believe that an agent, when I'm in front of you, I should be the solution for you. I actually believe that of everybody in leadership too, right? So that I should be the solution, and put myself in your shoes. People move because of their circumstances.
Absolutely.
I know what your circumstances are, and I need to know what your dreams are so that I can actually help you get from point A to point B.
Absolutely. That is a common thread, Tami, that I've been hearing throughout this interview, and it's pretty much some kind of it's even a clear separator between some of those agents and brokerages that are unfortunately failing, and those who are still standing and withstanding what's going on. Is you have to kind of get to pretty much some kind of a deeper personal level with your clientele in order to just really be able to help them. It's not just a transaction. I know that at the end that's what happened, but I think that those that are successful, and I've been able to talk with so many of them, it's always that thread that you just shared there. It's about what do I need to know in order to help to help you better.
I advise all of our agents and all of our brokers and regional owners. So the broker might be having a conversation with an agent, find out what's really important to them, and learn about them, so that you ask them effective questions that are relevant to them. Agreed. So if I'm an agent, I'm going to ask questions relevant to my clientele, and I'm going to make sure that I'm adding value. I'll give you a great example. I spoke before the pandemic. I was speaking in Washington, D.C. I speak a couple hundred times a year typically. And
wow.
I was speaking in Washington, D.C., and we had an agent there, and he said, I have an appointment tonight, and I'm fourth to go in for a listing appointment. And I said, do me a favor, Google him, friend him on Facebook, connect with him on LinkedIn, and find out about him. And I was actually talking about Investing in Opportunities Act and new things that were coming down the pike, right?
Yes.
And for anybody that doesn't know that's listening, it's a way for you to divert that capital gains and actually give back into the country. So you can give back in red zones so that we can boost up the middle class and give back. But they get to divert their capital gains for 7 years, and they pay 15% less when they pay it. And if they make a profit on what they invested in, they pay zero tax. It's magic.
That's awesome. Wow, so, that's real magic. Yes.
Right. So, but I was talking about that, and I was talking about where the windows of opportunity, which is typically my job is to be a good forecaster. So, where are those windows of opportunity that are down the pike that you can take advantage of? And so he found out that this gentleman owned his own business, and before I even finished speaking, right, found out that the gentleman owned his own business, that he was in his 70s. And I said, so I want you to ask him, what are your dreams? Where do you see yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? Do you plan on retiring? Do you plan on selling your business? And then share with him some information I shared today. And so when he had the questions and he asked up front, the other 3 agents just came in with a CMA, right?
Oh, wow.
So here's this kid that comes in with asking effective questions. He wanted to retire in 5 years. He wanted to sell his business. The reason he was coming in for a listing appointment is because he wanted to know, is this the most advantageous time, or are things still going up? And he wanted to retire 5 years from now, but he wanted to retire in a different state on the water. And so he said, look, prices are going up like crazy on the water. I would do that now. He taught him how to do short-term rentals. And he said, and I would hold off on listing your property. And he said, and we'll stay connected every month, and I'll tell you when there's an opportunity.
That's awesome.
And he increased this gentleman's net worth by almost $2 million.
Wow.
Bought 3 investment properties. He did a short-term rental that he actually paid the property off, that he's going to retire in. And then listed his home and sold it for $150,000 more than he would have if he had sold it back when he originally went in.
That's incredible.
So, and that's a wow factor, and that's not necessarily always the way it's going to be, but it's really important to find out why and what it is that they have for dreams. You know, think about it, if you had that opportunity and you get in front of somebody, have a kid, buy a condo, and by the time that child turns 18, they have their school paid for, right? Because they have the equity in that property.
That's awesome.
So we should think about it as us being the solution for whoever we're in front of, and we should think about it in how can I add value? Probably the biggest thing, and I say it all the time, but value equals income.
That's powerful.
That has never changed.
Yes.
In over 100 years of the National Association of Realtors, it has never changed. The more value I provide to you, the more income I'm going to earn. But I don't do it because of the income. I do it because of the value.
Exactly.
And then there's just becomes this flow in life, right?
That is awesome. That is really, really awesome. Since you have an incredible expertise, obviously, about the market and what's happening, can you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing? What are you observing in the market, transaction-wise? Have you seen any pickup? Did you think that something changed with COVID, or pretty much it has been the same in the market? What are you observing?
It changed dramatically, right? I mean, almost 50% of the population is going to be able to satellite from home, right?
Yes.
And be able to telecommute. So they're moving they can move an hour to 2 hours, even if they go in once or twice a week. They can move an hour to 2 hours away, and they can actually afford more home and to have a better quality of life, right?
Yes.
And so we're seeing a lot of people do that. We're seeing luxury people move to states with lower taxes because it just makes sense for them, right? They can commute any way they want to. We're also seeing a tremendous amount, and we will for at least the next decade, a tremendous amount of senior business. And that's shifting, and we really need to pay attention to where that transfer of wealth goes, because people don't have conversations with their parents about money, and they don't have conversations with them about what their wishes are. So
that's true.
That's a really important factor. I see prices still going up. I think that Lawrence Yun said we'll have 10% more transactions this year. I think this quarter is going to be a little bit slower because of COVID and waiting for everybody to get vaccinated.
Exactly.
stuff. I think everybody's happy the election's behind us.
Yes.
And, moving forward, I think once the first quarter hits, we'll have a really good 2021 and a really good 2022.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
prices have gotten out of control in some areas, right?
Yeah.
And housing affordability is still an issue.
Absolutely.
And so I think we're going to see a lot more people proactive about that. We're
Okay.
going to see a lot more new construction. We're going to see
That's
businesses
great.
moving. We're going to
Okay.
see mixed use. So whenever I give people advice, I always talk about having a dirty dozen people that work on the business, not in it. So if I'm an agent, I want to have 6 of those people tied to my local board, insurance company, appraiser, home inspector, because they'll keep me ahead of the curve on anything that's going on in the marketplace that I might miss, right?
Yes.
But the other 6, maybe on a statewide or province level, that they're going to be so that I can see the 2,000-foot view. And then I want to pay attention to things like this podcast and Inman and RIS and the Wall Street Journal and Realtor.org, so that I have the 30,000-foot view, the 2,000-foot view, and the street level view. But I think one of the things that people forget about is, one, there are changes. So I'll give you 2 parts of Dirty Dozen that I think people should pay attention to now that wasn't part of the equation before. But you also have to have a perspective on yourself. What are you good at? And what do you enjoy doing? Because there's a very big difference between happiness and fulfillment. And so if you love helping first-time home buyers getting into a home, you need to concentrate on that and how you can accelerate with that. If you love helping people that served in the military, you need to concentrate on that. If you love painting the picture, then maybe you represent new construction, so you can show people what it can become, right?
Awesome.
If you are really empathetic and want to connect with people's families, then maybe senior business is the answer for you. But I think that specialization is really important. 2 trends that I'm seeing shift dramatically. One, part of the Dirty Dozen, we're not seeing the migration charts are not the same as they were, right? Because people are moving to surprise right?
Yes.
They're moving because of climate change. It could be fires and floods. They're moving because of quality of life. They're moving because of their job circumstances or their personal circumstances. And so that migration chart isn't all the way accurate. So I recommend that one of those people pay attention to movers. Make them one of your Dirty Dozen. Where are people moving in and out of that I can do referrals that close, that I can really make connections before they come here, and pay attention to it for businesses as well as people.
Yes.
Right? Because if there's a new business moving in and you have an opportunity to help a bunch of people relocate, then that's a good opportunity, right? And if you can stay on the curve, that'll make a really big difference. But there are also zoning changes that are changing like crazy, right? Shopping malls are going to be turned into 55 and older projects, and we're going to turn into condos. We're going to see businesses and commercial turn into mixed use, so that there'll be some residential as well as business, right? And so I recommend that you pay attention to either municipalities or planning board as one of that Dirty Dozen, because you'll be ahead of the curve when there's a change. And when you go out and talk to people about what's coming, if you could get a bonus based on how well liked and how well respected you were, right? In the industry, and they said, Tami knows what she's talking about, pay attention. Then what would you like that bonus to be? And I can tell you that is dramatic. I live in a community where there's a lot of farms, apple orchards, horse farms, that kind of thing. And there's only 9,000 people in the town. About 3,000 homes, and a lot of them are big old farms, right? They had a person that came in from the planning board, and he shifted the rule that anything over 800 square feet for an ancillary apartment was now considered a 2-family, even though most of these old farm homes are 8,000 square feet. So 2,000 square feet isn't even, family in a lot of the circumstances. And then they had somebody new come in to the planning board, and I let an agent know, and it impacted 550 of those homes, right? And so he took more than 40 listings in 1 week just by knocking on the door and saying, "Oh my God, guess what the value of your property just changed to?" Right? That's incredible. So, but if you can, and it's not going to happen like that all the time. But it's you being in the know and being aware of things that are going on, and it just mind growing. People don't follow somebody that doesn't continue to grow. Agreed. I love it. It's basically do your homework. Right. I love it. I love it.
So in your opinion, Tami, do you think that this hiatus that we're going through forced, maybe not the right word here, but forced agents to reimagine how work gets done? Do you think that the way we're working now, it's something that's we're gonna see it going, even though the vaccines and everything allow us to just do differently, or do you think that it's pretty much has been the same?
No, I think it's going to be a healthy mix, right? It's going to be a healthy mix if I can do a Zoom call with somebody, if that's going to be more efficient and more effective.
Agreed.
But I have to personalize. If I don't personalize, I'm not going to win. And so there has to be some up close and personal as well. But think of how efficient it is if we could do some virtual open houses and some virtual closings and do it on Facebook Live and have as many views as humanly possible for these people, but still personalize and give them what they want. And so that's why the skill set and the technology needs to match up. I also so agents, brokers have had a lot of time to sit back and think about honestly, what is their quality of life and what do they really want? And hopefully they've thought about what they don't want to.
Exactly.
So that maybe they're going to be more fine-tuned and better. We are going to see a tremendous amount of acquisitions over this next couple of years. Some of them, I just did a podcast, and Real Trends got bought by Housing Wire, right?
Yes.
And so that is so that they can get more into the residential field.
Exactly.
We're going to see people buying media companies. We're going to see people buying other companies, title companies merging, mortgage companies merging. But in the real estate industry in the United States, 79% of offices have 6 agents or less. If they haven't leveraged technology, and a lot of those brokers are getting older, they're definitely going to look at the opportunity of being acquired. And honestly, there's somebody listening right now that is so important for you to really look at what it is you really want. Don't let your company atrophy so that what you worked for, you don't end up getting any type of return for.
Absolutely.
Decide what you want. Do you want to just list and sell real estate? Do you want to retire immediately? Do you want to help other people? It's all about asking yourself those effective questions. What do I really want? We have an opportunity right now to hit the reset button, right?
Exactly.
And there'll be a lot of big companies that are going to merge too. But a lot of those small companies, they never leverage technology and they're a little bit burnt out and they're not going to. So at least look at what your opportunities are to get some sort of return on what it is you put into your world. And for agents too, what do you love about what you do? What don't you love? And how can you make the most out of everything? We have had time to think, so hopefully everybody's incredibly creative, right?
Completely agree with that. And especially what you just said about knowing what you don't want, because we spend so much time, I think, focusing on what we want. And I think that there's not enough emphasis on first of all, studying what you actually don't want to see or don't want to do. And if you start by that aspect, I think it just makes everything easier, everything clearer even.
And you know what? People have been on automatic pilot for so long.
Yes, exactly.
Time to make the donuts, and they have a checklist of all that.
Agreed.
It's really important right now to stop and literally think of, even if you just put together a list of pros and cons.
Yes, absolutely.
So most people don't know what they want because they haven't thought long enough to really think about. In my perfect world, if I could wave a magic wand, what would I have? What would life look like?
Exactly. Completely agree. Tell me, what advice would you give to now real estate agents or agents starting their career pretty much right now in the midst of this pandemic and crisis? What do you think should be their focus? What should they do pretty much?
Well, I think that there is nothing that beats good habits and skill set.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so blocking off chunks of time every day to learn.
Okay.
Because you need to stay ahead of that curve on skill set. Find some people that can mentor you, that you'll follow. And that can be podcasts like this. So you're listening and you hear something that might be an opportunity that you can incorporate into your business. But I can't emphasize enough having a dirty dozen, connecting with people that serve your board so that you can get as educated as possible. Talking to a mortgage person, tell me everything that happened last year and everything you expect to happen this year. And what is your best advice? Insurance companies, maybe it's a flood area or, but tell me all the things that you're running into so that I can stop somebody from ending up with an issue after they close, right?
Exactly.
But if I talk to all the people that are working on the business, not in it, so that I have a really good perspective. I'm going to be able to educate that consumer.
Yes.
And it's not going to be about the length of time. It's going to be about the value that I'm going to add. And good habits are hard to break. Most people get started, they get their license and they come in and it's kind of, now what do I do?
Yes.
You need to really make up your mind. You're going to do education every single day, and you're going to get into the right habits of going out into the public. And obviously I can't emphasize enough having a dirty dozen. So look at the 30,000 foot view so you can see potential trends.
Yes.
The 2,000 foot view, your whole state, so you can see potential trends, because that's where you're going to find windows of opportunity.
Absolutely.
You might see something that no one else saw.
Exactly. Agreed.
What a difference. I remember helping a tech company that are not, this is how old I am, they were making word processors, right?
Okay.
And, but there were 33 people relocating, and I helped 31 of them, even though they had a location company, because I knew how to give them every single one of their benefits.
Awesome.
I knew exactly what the closing costs were going to be. I knew exactly how much were going to, that they were given in order to be able to move.
Yes.
And I literally within $1, within a quarter.
That's incredible.
Then they started spreading word to everybody else, right?
Yes.
And so you just want to, and this is the experience economy. So you want to give people an unlimited experience. 70% of the population would prefer an experience to a gift. So how can I make this a wow factor? How can I make this something that really
that's powerful,
has a huge impact on the person that's in front of me? And that's the other part of personalizing, right?
Yes.
It's okay to be human.
Exactly.
And so when you personalize it and you find out what's really important to them, and they find that you have some common grounds, and you ask them what they really want, make sure that you keep that in front of you every time before you go get in front of that person, because everyone's priorities are different, right?
Exactly. Agreed. That's powerful. That experience economy. I love it. I really like that term. So this is more directed towards you, Tami, as a CEO, as a leader in our industry. What are some of the lessons that you've personally learned during this pandemic, during this crisis? What can you share with us? What have you discovered or rediscovered about yourself, pretty much?
Well, I don't even think it's just about me. I think it's even about others.
Yes.
I think not making assumptions is probably the biggest thing, because I've heard people really struggle personally that I thought would never struggle, and so other people that I thought really would have really risen to the occasion. But I think that a zebra never changes its stripes. And so it's really important it's really been a great eye opener for what people are willing to do and not willing to do. And I'll give you a great example, and it's going to sound like a plug, but it's not. And so you have to know who you are and what it is you want. And you have to know who you are as a company. What are you representing? What did you decide your mission statement was? And you have to live that regardless of where the circumstances are. So we witnessed a lot of people laying off people in droves, right?
Yes.
And they did it via Zoom without even looking at a person, or they did it in a broadcast email, large organizations, because they were only looking at the balance sheet.
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you something that I believe with every fiber of my being, and that is that if you focus on people, the profits will follow. If you focus on profits, people will leave.
That's awesome.
And it's so during the recession, the worst recession since the Depression, we actually stopped because we were running tight on money. Company, we're privately held. There isn't anybody back to a shareholder and go, and so we decided, okay, and it's funny, this chief operating officer, myself and the founder were talking together and said, okay, who are we as a company? First question.
Okay.
And we said, this company was built on human potential. So we decided we were going to have to outsell and outthink our way out of the recession, and we did.
Okay.
And so when the pandemic hit, we asked the same question and said the human element is too valuable. We're not going to lay anybody off.
I love it.
Wow. If we have to cut salaries, we'll cut salaries. By the way, during the recession, we were the only ones that took a hit also.
Incredible.
But it's people in leadership, because we have to put our money where our mouth is.
Absolutely.
So instead of letting anybody go, and think about this from a logic standpoint anyway, it's going to take 50% of your time when you bring people back on, or you bring somebody new to train them. So are you really saving anything? And here we are. We have an average of 16 and a half years for our top 18 executives with the same company. And so we all know what each other's going to do, and we know how we're going to react and respond.
Absolutely.
And so in that same time frame, that magical 48 hours,
Yeah.
we launched a stimulus package for our own agents, brokers, and regional owners with in excess of $50 million. And
Wow.
so we reached into them, and we literally reached out doing webinars, techinars, live
Okay.
training. We did yoga,
That's
meditation,
that's incredible.
helping them mentally and physically.
Wow.
We literally launched a stimulus package, honestly worth in excess of $50 million,
That's awesome.
so they could ramp up and get as educated as humanly possible. So when they could actually go out, they
Okay.
were prepared.
That's
And,
awesome.
But what was more magical than anything else, Elaine, is we did this when we reached out to all of our people, because they
Okay.
had that position of trust.
Yes.
Everyone raised their hand all the way to the person that answers the phone. How would
Wow.
we help? How can we be part of the
That's
solution? Right?
wow.
You
That's
grow
wow.
when you're in a position of trust.
Absolutely.
You trust
Absolutely.
your work. But if you're fearful and your leaders are fearful, that fear shows, and it will spread everywhere. People
That's
leave a company
incredible.
because of leadership,
Absolutely.
or lack of.
That's incredible, because what you just said there, it just made me think like top to bottom, pretty much. You are literally heading toward the same direction. I know it sounds really weird to say it that way, which is supposed to be, but it's more than enough, more than often never really the case. So what you just said, everybody just raising their hands, it feels like everybody's headed toward the same direction.
Right.
And I think that's powerful. It just shows again your leadership and the team that you guys have built. I mean, it's just incredible.
And we all love and respect each other, so
Yes.
that we let everybody have control of their own lane, right?
Absolutely.
And
That's
that
awesome.
really does make a difference. I'm a firm believer in leading from a position of love.
Absolutely. That is powerful. I love it. Wow, so much time today, Tami. Could you share with us, to kind of finish us off? What are some of your business goals for this year? What are you looking at? What are you interested in? What are you planning pretty much for EXIT this year?
Well, we're going to sell out the balance of the regions so that's the ownership of a state or a
Yes.
province or a portion thereof.
Okay.
We'll sell out the balance of the regions so that we have
Okay.
boots on the ground to be able to sell franchises and build.
Awesome.
We are going to do a tremendous amount of acquisitions because
Wow.
it just makes sense. We have a residual component, so
Okay.
that instead of getting a lump sum, especially for smaller companies, that lump
Yes.
sum might not be that big.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
To get paid over time makes more sense, and
Yes.
is much more balanced for them and for their life. So we'll do a tremendous amount of acquisitions. We'll definitely do a great amount of bringing people into the company. So
Yes.
from a build standpoint, we've actually been building all the way through the pandemic. I put in 11 new regions during the pandemic. We put in
Wow.
franchises during the pandemic.
That's awesome.
You just need to know who it is you want to attract,
Exactly.
and make sure that they fit your culture.
Exactly.
It's not about going after everybody, right? It's
Yes.
really making sure that they fit so that we can get the most and the best out of each other.
Agreed.
So we're really focused on building and having a very strong presence. Our one word as a company is trajectory, and we want to change
Okay.
the trajectory of agents' lives, brokers' lives,
Wow.
regional owners' lives,
Powerful.
and the communities we serve. So
Thank you very much, Tami, for your time today. So this is a little video because when we pretty much wrapped up our episode with Tami, Zoom decided that it was a good idea to make a software update, so we got cut. But I just wanted to thank Tami Bonnell today for joining us on this episode of Recovery. And you can catch this episode on YouTube, obviously, and on all platforms streaming podcasts. And remember, in the recovery, don't just get back to the same place, but strive to get to a better place. Thank you.